Hey, folks, this is the Urban Louisville Chess Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Corbin. Guys, I'm really excited about this interview. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And then, it just up and happened. And I just can't believe it. We have with us the incomparable Rochelle Ballantyne. A lot of you already know much about her, so I'm not going to repeat that. But what I do want to talk to her about, what I do want to bring up, is her education and the effort she has put into furthering her education and the different degrees she's gotten. It's a real inspiration to a lot of us, particularly young people. And I just wanted to emphasize that. Sis, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your education. But before we do that, let me ask you a real dumb question. Was education something that was really talked a lot about in your family?
Well, first of all, no question is a dumb question. That's a big saying in my family.
Okay.
And that's because education is so pivotal in my family. My family has encouraged curiosity and inquisitiveness in every aspect of our life. And so to always ask questions, even if they may be, what's the word I'm looking for? Even if they may be aware to others or obvious to others, to ask anyway. But that's an aside.
Okay.
Back to the original question. So my grandmother was a teacher in Trinidad. And she instilled in her family, in her children, and my mom instilled in her children the importance of receiving an education to open any and all doors, in being inquisitive enough, in being curious enough to want to learn any and everything. Having the wherewithal to do whatever you set your mind to because you are learning so much about the world and about cultures and about people. So that is kind of the sort of backdrop for my upbringing, which no one has ever asked me before. So thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you were at now, I'm from Kentucky, girl. We just name our schools, but I know y'all give up there in the five boroughs, give your schools letters and numbers, and it's like, man, we don't understand that. So
We do have names, but it's just easier for the letters and numbers.
Okay, all right, all right. So your high school is what now?
Brooklyn Tech.
Oh, Brooklyn Tech. Okay, I thought it was something like PS 3004, something like
That was my elementary school, PS
Oh,
139, and my junior high school was IS 318.
okay, all right. So obviously you graduated from there, and then you went on to
Stanford University.
Stanford University. That's out in California, am I right?
That is correct, yes.
So it's pretty expensive first of all, to fly out there, take your stuff out there, and then Stanford, isn't that an Ivy League school?
It is not, but
It's not.
it's a good school, so I've heard.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, yeah, Stanford, who doesn't know Stanford? It was pretty expensive. So what covered that? Were you, I mean, what scholarships were you able to get, etc.?
Sure. So I was awarded the Questbridge Scholarship, and I'm not sure if they have that in Kentucky. They might have something similar like Posse or Ron Brown or something like that. But Questbridge is a scholarship that is awarded to merit-based and need-based students. For New York, the premise is you send in this long application. You denote your top three choices of schools you would like to attend. The top three choices or the schools that you have selected, they review your application and then they pick you.
Wow.
So my first choice was actually the University of Pennsylvania because my mom just had a baby. I didn't want to go so far away from home.
Right.
So I wanted to stay close. And so I wanted to go to UPenn. My next choice was Stanford. I didn't know anything about the school except that it was in California And I thought that I would be able to like live a sunny lifestyle and never have to deal with winters again. And so that was exciting to me. And my third choice was Northwestern. Um, also a really great school. Was a bit concerned about the winters because New York winters are tough. Chicago winters,
Oh,
something serious.
yeah, yeah,
So yes, so I was hoping I was hoping for the first two. I was matched with Stanford, and so as a result, my tuition was paid for.
mm, okay. So you were out there how long?
4 years.
You graduated from there.
Yes.
All right. What was your degree? What'd you graduate with?
So I have two degrees. I have a degree in political science, and I have a bachelor's with honors in African American studies.
So you were a double major at Stanford University.
I was, yes.
You graduated with two degrees from Stanford University.
That is correct.
All right. Yeah. It was by the grace of God. I got one. One. By the grace of God. And by the way, if my former college biology teacher and political science professor is listening, man, God bless you guys. I appreciate the credit. But you got two degrees. So now the one was, you said, is like Pan-African studies, something like that?
Yes, African and African American studies.
Okay.
So I was looking at, I wanted to learn more about the policy. So I kind of combined my major. My thesis was about the policies in place that impacted African and African American communities in America.
Okay. All right. So you just had that keen interest in that. And so what were you looking to do with, you have these double majors. Then what was your thinking as far as, okay, this is my next step?
Sure. So I've always wanted to be a lawyer. And so I know that for college, it doesn't really matter what you major in, as long as you get good grades. And so I really wanted to use college as a time to sort of explore other areas of interest and see what I like, see what I don't like, just learn something new. And so that's what I did. I took my time at Stanford to explore various fields. I took psychology classes. I took a lot of education classes, but the good majority of my classes were policy based
Okay.
and race based.
So from the beginning, you were thinking, hey, law school.
Yep. I applied senior year of college. So I was going to go straight through. But the 4 years was really hard. I think being so far away from home impacted me more than I thought it would. And I was a bit unsure about what my next steps were. So I decided to take some time off to figure out if I actually wanted to be a lawyer. If I didn't, what I would do instead. And just sort of like do a bit more self-reflection.
Right. So you ended up at New York University. Was that right? New York University or what, New York Law School? What was it?
First, I went to Columbia first to get my master's.
Wow.
Yes. So in that time of introspection, I realized that I was more interested in education as opposed to law. So I was more curious about sort of how come I was able to attend such a prestigious school like Stanford or even Brooklyn Tech? How come I was able to afford these opportunities when the people in my neighborhood who are just as smart, just as brilliant, weren't afforded the same kind of opportunities as I was. And so I wanted to study that a bit more and sort of learn about what reform looks like to make sure that everyone has equitable access to the opportunities that I received growing up.
Wow, master's degree. Now Columbia is an Ivy League school.
Columbia is an Ivy League school, yes.
Okay, I know that because my wife graduated from there. So yeah, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you. So I got my master's in education policy at Teachers College, and my program was law and education. So law decided to creep its way back into my purview. Most of my professors were lawyers, and I was introduced to this field of education law. And it really it it was just, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was a wake up call. I was really excited about it, the prospect of being an education lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I was really passionate about what I was learning. I was excited about the sort of the practitioners in the field that I was able to meet. And I really enjoyed studying
Mm-hmm.
education law. I loved it. And so I was like, okay, so I want to be an education lawyer too. Um, and so around that time, I applied to grad school and law school at the same time. And so I wanted to make sure that whichever grad school I went to, I was also, I was in the same state for the law school. So I got into Columbia for grad school and New York for law, and NYU for law school on a full ride or on a tuition paid. So yeah, and I'm at NYU Law. I'm on a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
My tuition is covered, and I'm going to graduate in May.
So May 2023, right?
Yes.
This May. What is education law?
That's a great question.
Uh,
I'm still trying to figure it out, but my understanding of it is using the law to tackle issues in education.
mm-hmm.
So for me specifically, I'm interested in school discipline. And so each school has like a disciplinary process for how they discipline their kids. And sort of my role as the lawyer would be to see if that disciplinary process is equitable. Is the school disproportionately disciplining Black girls?
Mm-hmm.
Is the school disproportionately punishing students with disabilities? And so that's what I would look at from that lens. I think another lens that I look at is also, do students with disabilities, are their needs being met in accordance with the law?
Mm-hmm.
Those students have like requirements that must be met. Is the school meeting those needs? And so for me, it's more so it's making sure that the schools aren't a hindrance to student achievement.
Okay.
And ways in which I can use the law to sort of ensure that happens.
Now, so who would be your clients? Would it be the school saying, "Hey, come check us out," or would it be?
No, I would represent the children, or well, I would probably represent parents
Okay, so the
who are
parents
raising
would
the
have to.
issue.
Okay, so the parents would have to hire you, so to speak, or just say, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
come in here and check this out for us."
Mm-hmm.
But would you be working for a firm as you're doing this? They contact the firm and say, "Hey, we want Rochelle. We know she's going to kick booty, so we want her." Is that they're contacting the firm or what?
Yes, ideally.
Okay, okay, all right. As I've never heard of education law before, but I have heard of attorneys saying this, that here in Louisville they started, was basically an all black male school, W. Du Bois
Mm-hmm.
Academy. And it was fine. No one really had any opposition to it. But then all of a sudden the ACLU stepped in and said, "Oh, well, if you do an all black boys school, you have to do an all black girls school." So they went ahead and set that up. And
Mm-hmm.
really, I don't know. At one point, I think people were a little offset about that. But then it's like, well, we really don't have an issue with that. So they went ahead and do that. That's the only time I heard attorneys sort of stepping in. And I guess that's an example of equity, or I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Because I guess another lens that we would look at it is, for an all Black boys school, do girls have the same opportunities to receive that kind of instruction in a similar capacity?
Right.
Are you discriminating against white people by not letting them into this
Mm-hmm.
all Black school?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so when it's issues of race, or when it's all Black, or when it's all anything, right, then issues of discrimination pops up.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, and another thing that we have here in Louisville, I know you're not familiar with Louisville, Kentucky, and Kentucky in general, but here in Louisville,
Yes, I'm a big city girl.
here, 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 I'm trying to let that slide, but my wife's from Atlanta. She says that all the time. Do you guys have this franchise? I said, girl, it's Louisville.
Hmm.
It's not like we're in another country or something. But
Big
anyway,
city girl.
so um, here in Louisville, consistently, really, it goes back, in my opinion, goes back several decades, but last 5 years, black student achievement, the scores and all,
Hmm.
have been just not where they should be at all.
Hmm.
And then, of course, on the bottom of that are black males. I mean, it's
Hmm.
really, really bad for black males. Poor math scores, reading scores, just not reading at grade level at all. It's not unusual to find, black males that be 12th grade and are reading at a fourth, fifth grade level.
Hmm.
Now, is that something that someone like you would have the training to say, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah, and it's not just in Louisville. There are cities. I mean, there was a really big Supreme Court case decades ago about predominantly in Texas Hispanic students who were reading below grade level, and in the district over, uh, predominantly white students were thriving. And so that was an issue of money. And so they were like, if we're funding schools based on zip code, the predominantly Hispanic students live in poor districts. And so obviously they're not able to contribute to their schools in the same way that upper end middle class students are able to. It should be more equitable, and money should flow to at need students, and it shouldn't just be based on a zip code. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. And so that's because of that case. It causes a lot of issues in terms of funding. So like, a lot of the reason why we see those disparities amongst race is because the schools that predominantly that students of color attend aren't as resourced as schools that are able to sort of provide the resources, the needs, the equipment, the teachers, to get kids to the reading level that they're at. But according to the law, we can't do anything about it. And so we have to look at other ways to sort of combat. Is there a state law and a lot of this, what I studied in grad school, does the state sort of define a right to education? And if they do, then under the state right to education, you have to at least meet a basic threshold of what student achievement looks like. And so if majority of your kids are way below reading level, then you are mandated by the state law to do whatever is in your power to increase that. And New York has been in that fight for a while. So ongoing. But yes, that's also an education issue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, let's change the flow of the conversation a little bit. Obviously,
I know I can talk about this forever. You got to cut me off.
no, this is good. You know, a lot of people know about your illustrious career as a chess athlete. I mean, it's clear, it's documented. We don't need to go over that. But do you see any sort of connection or relationship between the way chess can possibly help low-income, underachieving students become, better students, or score better or anything
Yeah,
like that?
absolutely. And I think I'm a testament to that. And I think that's why I care so much about education, is because, if it wasn't for chess, would I've still been able to get a full ride to Stanford? Would I still been able to go to Columbia? It's just a cascade of things that happen
Mm-hmm.
because I decided to play this little game.
Mm-hmm.
And the game has taught me so much that is applicable to real life. And I was just talking to somebody a while ago about how, I take chess into every space that I'm in.
Hmm.
The lessons that I've learned when I play, I take that with me
Mm-hmm.
as I continue. A lot of being a lawyer is a lot about the strategies that you think through in chess, thinking through your opponent's next move, thinking moves ahead, learning when it's time to give up, or when it's time to keep going. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of these things are coalesce
Yeah.
for my specific career. And so, yes, short answer.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I've heard that before from high level chess athletes like yourself. I'm not a high level chess athlete, but I've been doing chess coaching and organizing tournaments, etc., on a professional basis since 2010.
Mm,
My anecdotal experience has been, I say to parents, if you keep your son or daughter involved in this for at least 2 years, you're going to see some difference. You can see
hmm
a difference. And I can't tell you the number of times parents have written me letters or they've pulled me to the side and they say, "Oh my God, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to keep on doing it." That kind
hmm
of stuff. I saw it with my own daughter.
hmm
Her esteem and her confidence just after a couple of years, it just skyrocketed. She didn't need daddy anymore. And I remember her first big game. She wanted me to come sit beside her. She had a little
hmm
doll, pigtails. I said, "Baby, I can't sit beside you." Then about a year or two later, it was like, "Oh, my round's up. See you," and just ran off. I said, "Oh my God, my baby's growing up. What's wrong?" I was hurt. But did you find that chess helped build your esteem and confidence?
Definitely. And I don't think it's specific to chess. I think it's just enrichment activities in general. I think opening your child up to a new way of thinking, whether that be chess, the same can be said for band. Like it all has to do with discipline,
Hmm.
and the capacity to stick with something, to not give up,
Hmm.
um, and to stick with it long enough that you are able to learn stuff from it. And so for me, in terms of confidence, being able to I come from a low income family. So my four walls was just Brooklyn.
Hmm.
But playing chess allowed me to explore other boroughs. Went to Chinatown. I went to the Bronx. I do not go to Staten Island. That's one thing that I will not. Me personally, I will not do it. But I could if I wanted to.
Hmm.
I went to Dubai for chess. I went to Brazil. Got to travel the world. Um, and be exposed to different kinds of people, different kinds of culture, different ways of thinking.
Hmm.
And that worldly experience is only stuff you get from these kinds of enrichment activities.
Mm. And you also, the question here might be a little weird, but I know you're trying to become a FIDE International Master. Is that correct?
Just a regular old master. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be FIDE.
Okay.
USCF would be
Okay.
fine too. Hmm.
All right. So you have to reach a particular point level with that. Is it
Right.
elo points 2200?
Correct.
Okay. So you're sort of like a hop, skip, and a jump from there, but the competition you have to go up against, oh my God, I mean, it's like climbing Mount Everest with just your fingers or something.
Golly, who you telling?
So
And the
you,
kids are getting so much better, so much younger. And so, yes.
yeah. But you have like a GoFundMe account where if people want to contribute, because you travel, room and board, entry fees, and we're not talking about coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You have to hire
Speak
coach.
on it, coach.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
so
It's a lot.
share with us your GoFundMe page. I mean, how do we get to it?
Um, yes. I mean, I can email you a link. It's been
Okay.
inactive for a while, but it's still up. And if people want to contribute, I would be greatly appreciative because I am a full-time student, and it does get hard sort of dealing with all of the things,
Mhm.
especially as the oldest. So I do have a family to take care of.
Right.
Um, and so I'm doing my best and I'm trying my best. I still play every week. I have coaching 3 times a month. So I'm trying to get there and I appreciate all the support, whether it just be word of mouth, financially, or just, emotional support. I get so happy when I meet folks like you, um, who are just egging me on from afar without even knowing a thing about me.
Mhm.
And stuff like that inspires me to keep going. So thank you.
Do you have a website or Facebook page?
I do not have a website nor a Facebook page. I try to keep things very low key because I don't like asking for help. So,
Well, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. But we're definitely different there. I shoot, girl. I'll ask everybody and their mama for $1. I ain't got no shame in my game with that. There's been a couple of times I was really down and out. I said, I ain't doing this again. I'm going to ask. Yeah, but
get where you fit in. I'm trying to be better about it.
yeah, but make sure you send us that GoFundMe link, and I want to encourage people to go to that because, like I said, man, I know that's expensive, And
Mm-hmm.
where do your private lessons? Who are you getting them from a grandmaster?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
know
so
that
I
can be
work with
expensive.
her name is Pia Kramling.
Uh-huh.
She is an international women's master in Sweden.
Mm,
So yes, she we do there's like a 6 hour time difference. And so I had a lesson this morning at 7 a.m. It was
mhm,
brutal, but I did it.
mhm.
And then I went to class right after. So I'm trying, I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Now, just to change the subject a little bit, aren't you working 3 jobs?
You know,
Wow. You're a better man than me. So,
Coach, I'm trying to tell you, it's hard out here.
wow. And I know it's expensive in New York. Years ago, when I was sort of living up there, I had a friend of mine. She was in Manhattan, just a few blocks
Mm-hmm.
away from the Twin Towers. And she said, "Well, I'll rent you this room." It was a room, and it was like she was offering it to me for 450, 500 a month. And someone told me, I said, "Man, that's cheap." I said, "That's cheap, dude." I said, "Really?" Nah, man. What?
Mm-hmm. My rent is 5 times that. So,
Oh, no, no, no. So soon
mm-hmm.
after that, I came back home. I came back to $400 or $500 a month. Girl, you get in a house in West Liverpool. You get in a house. I said, "No, I got to come back home. These people are killing me. They're killing me, girl. I couldn't handle it. I could not handle it." So, folks, I'm saying this. Hey, when she says it's hard out here for a sister, she means it. She means it. And, as you can tell, working 3 jobs, she ain't lazy by any stretch of the imagination. Now, aren't you an intern at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, something like that?
I was
Uh
that was last semester. This semester, I'm working for the National Center for Law and Economic Justice.
huh.
I'm also working as a TA for this company called Braven, which is doing a lot of the work that I talked about. So, providing college students with, or helping college students become career ready. So, working with
Okay.
them on their resume, on their LinkedIn page, helping them develop the skills to interview well, to network, find good
Yeah.
jobs. So, I'm doing that work. Um, I'm working at this organization called Expand Ed, which does sort of the education research that I did in grad school.
Hmm.
So continuing on and building those skills. And then I'm also working for another organization that I can't say because I signed an NDA,
Okay.
and I don't play about that.
Right.
So yeah, that's four. Yeah, four on
Wow.
top of being a full-time law student. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Now, you had mentioned at one of your places you help students network and make connections and that kind of stuff. I found in my work, particularly with a lot of black students, I'll ask them, I say, "Hey, man, you close to graduating, or, what do you think you're going to do?" And really, they just sort of shrug their shoulders and just say, "Well, I really don't know other than I want to find a job." And I'll say, "Well, have you considered this or considered that?" And they said, "Well, they just sort of shrug their shoulders again. And then I'll make an offer. Well, look, I will take you to this university. I'll take you to
Mm-hmm.
this trade school." And it seems to make a whole lot of difference. I know some people may say, "Well, introduce networking, introducing the people that." I mean, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think it's pivotal. And I think it's for a lot of the reason, or for exactly the reason you mentioned. I think a lot of kids, they have an idea of what they want to do, but they don't know how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important for people who have already gone on that journey
Mm-hmm.
to be connected with them so that they're not reinventing the wheel. This is how I did what I did. You can choose to follow me in that path, or you can get there on your own, and I will connect you to the resources. I will connect you to the people, so that you can have more advice or more opinions of
Right.
how to pursue this path. But it's so important for them to have that knowledge base, to have that support system or support mechanism in place, to know
Right.
that there are people out there who came from their backgrounds and were still able to make it. Um, Especially in New York, because it's grind culture out here and
Mm.
everyone's grinding, everyone's fighting for the same opportunities. So how do you stand out?
Right. I got you. I got you. Let me take a time out to throw in a commercial here, folks. This is the Urban Louisville Chess Podcast. We have with us Rochelle Ballantyne, and look, we're gonna post her GoFundMe page link on this. And I guess this is a good time to say also that she will be here June 10th for our Derby City Classic. The Derby City Classic is a regional where we are basically trying to pattern ourselves after the Queen City Classic that's held every year, March at Cincinnati, Ohio. So we said we want to do our own regional and do it every June. And she's going to be, it's our first time doing it, and she's going to be our special guest. So I want to encourage everybody, please, to come out, introduce yourself to her, and there'll be different ways you can be supportive of her and the West Louisville Chess Club, which is basically sort of sponsoring this, and the Kentucky Chess Ambassadors basically sponsoring this. Sis, I got a few more questions before we conclude, but do you have a, I know I've never met Jennifer Shahada. I've met Irina Krush, but do you have a particular keen interest in seeing more ladies get involved in chess?
Yeah, and Jen does a really good job of spearheading that initiative.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about this a lot. Chess is very isolating, and it's even more so isolating when you're a woman, mm-hmm. when you're Black, mm-hmm. Because these spaces weren't created for us. They were created for a specific demographic, and it's very easy to fall into this idea or this notion that you don't belong here. Mm-hmm. And I think Jen is, every day, she continuously does the work to encourage girls to take up space, yes. To push them to feel like they belong. And it's such pivotal work. And even in the tournaments I play, I'm still the only Black girl, but I'm not the only girl anymore. And even that is a small step in the right direction. And I think it's I love to see it.
Yeah. And speaking of Sister Jennifer Shahada, we started maybe a couple of years ago. We tried to start an all-girls chess program, the Queen and Zinga Warriors, and she sent us. She said, "Look, how many sets do you need? Period." Mm-hmm. I said, "Well, some number we need. They were there." She sent them out to us, so mm-hmm. I was very appreciative of that. We still have the shirts, and we're still trying to build that. And, and the experience my daughter had, almost identical to yours. She was like the only Black female, and when she saw another female, period, Black or white or whatever, she'd get excited. Mm-hmm. She'd get excited. I said, "Oh my God, girl, calm down." But
there's powers in numbers, and there's also power in not feeling like you're alone.
Yes. And sis, I want you to respond to this. I tell you, the weirdest thing I ever had was, my daughter was, she was playing locally. I got her started at 6. Come age 7, she was playing in rated cash prize tournaments. I actually had 2-3 people come to me and said, it's not common for a Black girl to want to play chess. They usually want to do something else like cheerleading. And they were actually insinuating to me, one guy just flat out said it to me, he's an attorney too, I was forcing her to play chess.
Sounds like racism.
I was stunned. I was stunned. I mean, it's like, why?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if the fact that people have those notions, mm-hmm. the fact that people have the wherewithal to say it explicitly, mm-hmm. Is just a reminder that people don't think we belong in these spaces. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important for us to continue to be in these spaces. Right. Chess is not a game about, it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. It doesn't matter your gender. It matters how smart you are, how well you can play this game. And at the end of the day, that's all that should matter. Is can I beat you in this game if I sit across from you? Not the color of my skin. But unfortunately, because of the society we live in, race and gender will always factor in to every game, to every time I sit to enter into a chess space. And people also have to recognize that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and offer, as you say, support Now here in Louisville, we got four black men who are running successful chess programs. And, Louisville has a long history of chess, goes back 150 years. It's actually documented in a book. And I said to two of the brothers, I said, look, when's the last time you ever seen four black men running successful chess programs in the city, all at the same time, city of Louisville? He said, well, that's ever happened. And every last one of them, I tell you, they're intentional about bringing in more black students. And then when they're very intentional about bringing in more girls in general, more ladies in general, but trying to be supportive of that as much as possible, because you have to be. I mean, you just have to be. I think if just sort of left, if I didn't really have that relationship I did have with my daughter, I think she might have peer pressure would have led her towards things like cheerleading and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, when she got into chess, she got into chess. She got me a couple of chess jobs. School would call me, Mr. Severs, my Lord, your daughter's saying this, then you come teach at the school. It wasn't Chenoweth, it was Cochran. So, and then she would get insulted. And people would say, why don't you become a cheerleader? And then one time she said, well, why can't the boys come to my tournaments and cheerlead for me?
That's a good question.
Yeah. So I don't know where she getting all that radical stuff. It wasn't me. Must have been her mom. Wasn't me, girl. I'm telling you. So my attitude is just like, hey, baby, just keep playing, keep studying. She came with this radical stuff. Oh, they need to come cheerlead for me. So okay, but it is a good question, though, isn't it, sis?
Mm-hmm.
Great
question. Love the attitude.
Yeah, and she would love it when the family, would come out and support us, support her and all. She really enjoyed that. All right, look, let's conclude it here, folks. This again, just had a good time talking with Rochelle Ballantyne. I probably talked too much about myself there. So next time we have her on, she's going to talk more about herself and her ideas and her dreams and goals and all. But I just want to reiterate here, she's going to be here June 10th at the Derby City Classic here in Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to have it here at the Broadway Theater, 816 East Broadway. So please come out, and please, we are going to have a special workshop just for the ladies. So please encourage any young person, any lady who's interested in playing chess, learning how to play chess to come out. She'll definitely encourage them and inspire them, and it'll just be a good time for all. Sis, I really want to appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. As I said, always a pleasure.
So before we drop off, so is there one last thing you just want to say to folks?
Just thank you. I've been playing chess for a really long time, and the overwhelming support that I've received as I've continued on this journey has just been so monumental and important to me. And I'm very appreciative. I'm very grateful, and I don't take it for granted. So thank you.
All right. Okay, sis. Well, we're going to conclude it here. As you know, we will be in touch, and maybe we can do this again before June 10th. But thank you again, sis. We'll be in touch.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.